He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, everybody. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. All right. Now Secretary of State, the state of confusion, John F. Student Kerry, he spoke today, and they showed videos, and I'm still not sure of several things. Number one, why the President of the United States, all these months, almost a year and a half since he drew his red line in Syria, hasn't gone to Congress and asked for support. That's a rhetorical point because we know why he hasn't gone to Congress. Number one, he believes he's imperial. Number two, Congress wouldn't give him the support. But also, really, I have no idea what it is that we're going to try to achieve here. Does anybody believe hitting this base or that base with cruise missiles or bombers or jets or so forth is going to stop Assad? Assad is fighting for his very existence. He saw what happened to Gaddafi. He sees what Mubarak has gone through and so forth. But I want to raise another point with you. I saw a piece up on Red State, which caused me to do a little additional research on this subject. Back in May, about 3.5 months ago, there were numerous reports of the use of sarin gas. That's a nerve agent, I'm told, by the rebels in Syria. Here's the BBC. Testimony from victims of the conflict in Syria suggests rebels have used the nerve agent sarin, a leading member of a UN commission of inquiry has said. Carla Del Ponte told Swiss TV there were strong concrete suspicions, but not yet incontrovertible proof. Ms. Del Ponte did not rule out the possibility that government forces might also have used chemical weapons. Later, the commission stressed it had not reached conclusive findings as to the use by any parties. So, they believe the Syrian rebels may have used sarin, the government may have used it, or nobody may have used it. Folks, there is slaughter going on all over the world. Very little of it has to do with American national security or an imminent threat to America. That doesn't mean America isn't morally repulsed by something that's going on and shouldn't intervene, such as the Holocaust in the 1930s and 40s and so forth. But a president has a responsibility to conduct himself in a way that not only brings together the entirety of the federal government in such an action, but persuades the American people. The president has not given a forthright speech to the American people, nor has he presented himself for serious questioning by the media. Now you might say, but Mark, that could give away our strategies and tactics. How so? The president's already given those away. They're being printed by the New York Slimes. They're on the Internet. And the Syrian military is responding, moving planes and doing this, that, and the other thing. I don't support this because it's not at all clear to me why we're doing it. I don't like the way we're going about doing it. No, we don't need to go to the UN. No, we don't need other countries supporting us. But we need our own country and our own Congress involved. This isn't a matter of hypocrisy or Democrat, Republican, or what have you. The president drew a line in the sand publicly 18 months or so ago. He should have gone to Congress at that time, made his case to the American people and so forth. If this is our highest priority when it comes to taking military action, then explain it. We didn't take military action before this event with over 100,000 Syrians dying. Hell, we didn't even take military action in Benghazi, as I discussed last week, when we had a specific national security interest and we were attacked. That consulate was American territory, and those people who were slaughtered were American citizens. But the president is incapable of making a coherent and persuasive case for whatever it is he's trying to do. And the entire world sees it. The British Parliament saw it. The French are now seeing it. The Russians and the Chinese see it. What the hell are we doing? And why are we going about it this way? See, the president is an ideologue, but in this case, more than ideology, he's demonstrating utter and complete incompetence. And these hardened, tough, experienced world leaders, they see it. Ally and enemy alike. So no, I don't support this. And no, I'm not an isolationist, nor am I a neocon, nor am I this, that, or the other. This is a common sense, practical look at it. But I do see guys like Peter King running, they use these chemicals, we need to go in. Peter King doesn't think we need to go into the Congo, where black Christians are being slaughtered and have been for years and years now. He doesn't think we need to go into the Sudan, where black Christians are being slaughtered and have been for years and years and years now. He doesn't think we need to go into Mozambique, where first whites were being slaughtered and now blacks are being slaughtered, and vice versa. And I could go on and on. And I'll tell you what else is going on for us in this country as this plays out. There's a huge issue before Congress right now. And that's whether or not we're going to live in a country where we as individuals are free to enter into commerce or not. Whether we as individuals are free to make personal decisions or not. And I'm talking about Obamacare, because Obamacare is more than about health care, which is enough. But as this is playing out, almost a diversion. I mean, it's an absurdity almost. One retired general after another, one retired colonel after another, lieutenant colonels are coming through on TV. I agree with it. I don't agree with it. This, and they might as well just have anybody give comment, because there's utter and complete confusion and disagreement and a lack of facts. But on it goes, and it'll go on all weekend long, through the weekend, until we apparently attack. No more talk about Coptic Christians being slaughtered in Egypt. It's as if nothing's going on in Egypt anymore, right? No talk about the rise of Al-Qaeda in Libya. No talk about that anymore, is there? None. Now we're just talking to ourselves about a matter that is utterly incoherent at this point. So that's the state of play when it comes to Syria. I wish I had something more concrete to tell you. But I must say this. There are people who are saying, yes, we must intervene. And I think to myself, okay, intervene. We don't even know who the good guys and the bad guys are. Intervene? Intervene for what? With whom? Shall we attack both sides? It's anyway, we'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
I get more into Obamacare, and we're going to talk about it because the Republican establishment and leadership in Congress, you know who they're attacking now? The Heritage Foundation. Particularly the PAC part of the Heritage Foundation, Heritage Action, which is an outstanding organization, Heritage Action. They're attacking them. Even the Republican conservative group in the House under this guy Scalise from South Carolina, attacking them. But before I get to that, while all this is going on, what is Obama doing? Heritage.org, Obama grants amnesty to illegal immigrants without Congress. I said, more? Congress hasn't passed immigration legislation, but that hasn't stopped Obama from issuing directives that grant amnesty to illegal aliens. Last week, ready? The Obama administration issued the latest in a line of policy directives granting amnesty by default. The latest directive instructs Immigration and Customs Enforcement officials, ICE, not to enforce immigration laws in cases where an illegal alien is the primary provider for any minor child, regardless of the child's immigration status, or the parent or guardian of a child who is a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident. Got that? On its own, the Obama administration has determined that it will not enforce immigration laws against a parent or guardian of a minor child who's the primary provider. So they won't take enforcement action against quote-unquote children. They won't take, and why do I say quote-unquote? Because some of these people who've come here when they were younger, they're now in their 30s. So they won't take enforcement action against them. The primary provider, a parent, they won't take enforcement action against them. So he's not upholding the immigration laws while all this Syrian talk and stuff is going on. But you can't mention the I word. No. The president really, his sole job in addition to commander-in-chief is making sure that the laws are faithfully executed. In June of last year, the Obama administration's Homeland Security Department issued a memorandum telling U.S. immigration officials they should enforce the nation's immigration laws against certain young people who were brought to this country as children and know only this country is home. Meaning they should not, it should say, but it doesn't. So that move essentially served to implement major portions of the so-called DREAM Act, which had been introduced to Congress but failed more than 30 times. So he enforced it by executive order. And by the way, he's doing the same thing over at the EPA with cap and trade. Efforts to preserve and protect families are important considerations when it comes to immigration, of course. But they shouldn't be the only reason for making decisions. And in fact, what this administration is doing is rewriting the law or evading the law. And so I thought you'd want to know that while everybody else is talking about this over there, Syria, Obama, by executive fiat, is expanding amnesty for illegal aliens, for parents or guardians who are the primary breadwinners if they have minors. So who isn't? Who isn't covered by this anymore? And how do you prove that? So if this isn't a soft, here you go, you ready? I've talked about soft tyranny. Well, let me go further. If this isn't a soft dictatorship, then what is it? And notice there's no alarm bells being rung at all in the mainstream big media. None. So if this isn't a soft dictatorship, what is it? The president decides he's going to unilaterally make decisions about law enforcement which laws he will honor, which laws he won't, which laws he'll honor in part, which laws he'll change in part. He doesn't have that authority. He does it on immigration. He does it on the environment. Apparently he does it when it comes to war making. President of the United States rejects the advise and consent provision of the Constitution. He's appointed people to high office who were never confirmed by the Senate by unilaterally proclaiming the Senate in recess when it wasn't. You may remember early in the administration, the president defied a federal court order in Louisiana. He defied a federal court order in Florida relating to Obamacare. The Attorney General of the United States today, whether you agree with the policy or not, I'm talking about the legal aspect, has decided in many cases they're not going to challenge marijuana laws, pro-marijuana laws. Well, people are like, well, I agree with that. But the Attorney General under this administration, they don't have the power to unilaterally make these decisions. So what do you call this, if not a soft dictatorship? Under Obamacare, this administration has issued waivers for its friends, whether in the corporate world or the union world. This president has chosen to put off certain aspects of the law till after the midterm elections. Where do you get the power to do this? He has no power to do this. None. This administration is trying to force religious institutions and people of faith to subsidize practices that they reject as immoral, and the president could care less. There's an awful lot of this going on, ladies and gentlemen, an awful lot of it. And the president doesn't have the power to do these things, and neither does this administration. So that's what I mean when I say we are unmoored from our Constitution, because we clearly are. And the Republicans are not going to do a damn thing about it. Actually, I'm wrong about that. When we come back after the bottom of the hour, the Republicans are going to do something about this. I'll explain when we return.
Mark Levin, Liberty's General Patton. Call into the Mark Levin Show now at 877-381-3811.
Mark Levin, author of numerous New York Times best-selling books, Men in Black, Liberty and Tyranny, and Ameritopia. Now comes the Liberty Amendments.
This book is what we do, what I do behind this microphone, what we discuss day in and day out. And it answers the question that you ask. Mark, what can we do? Well, this is my answer.
The Liberty Amendments, new from Mark Levin.
When you read this book, The Liberty Amendments, Restoring the American Republic, it gives you hope. It gives you some inspiration, and we need it. And that's why I wrote it.
Rush Limbaugh on Mark Levin's The Liberty Amendments.
It's a wonderful book. He proposes 10 amendments that simply reaffirm the original intent of the Constitution, and then gives a thorough explanation for why each amendment is in fact justified and traces it back to the days of the founding.
This year's must-read, Mark Levin's The Liberty Amendments, now on sale everywhere.
You know, speaking of Rush, then I want to move back onto this Obamacare and what the Republicans are actually doing. You ready for this? But anyway, he sent me an email this morning out of the blue, and he told me to go ahead and make it public. And I'm going to read this. Be better if he read it, but I'm going to read it just because it's a little embarrassing, I'd say, Mr. Producer. So he's read my book cover to cover now. Says, I want to tell you where your book, The Liberty Amendments, is going to be. This is Rush, not me. It will be in every history book for the life of the country. It will stand as the single most impactful representation of the opposition to Barack Obama and the leftists of the day. It will be hailed as the loudest, most penetrating, and intelligent warning to the American people about what was happening to their country and what to do about it. He said, I'm not prescient enough to know if history will recount the warning as heard and acted on or lament that it wasn't. I wrote him back. I said, wow, where'd this come from? Well, I read it, the entire book. And he even said, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but I'll say it. And when it comes out in paperback, he said, you can take this quote and put it on the back of your book if you want. So that's Rush Limbaugh, and I want to thank him and Sean Hannity, Sarah Palin, and Matt Drudge, and everybody else in their scores who are trying to save this republic. And not just from the Democrats either. I just want you to know that in Washington, D.C., what are the Republicans doing? The Republicans have joined in with the Democrats. As a matter of fact, the Democrats are hanging back and watching the Republican leadership, the Republican consultants, the Republican National Committee, the National Republican Senatorial Committee, the National Campaign Congressional Committee. They have all like these communist names, with all the NCCC, NRSC, RNC, whatever. But anyway, they're trashing Heritage Action. They're trashing Club for Growth. They're trashing the Tea Party Patriots. They're trashing Freedom Works. They're trashing all the organizations, all the conservative groups. And one of the organizations within the House, headed by, I think, the guys from South Carolina, this guy Scalise, he's in the back pocket. He's in Boehner's back pocket, and he's supposed to be running the conservative, in essence, what is the conservative caucus within the Republican House. But apparently he's been, Boehnerized. So when I coin the word Boehner care, I mean it. If this thing is not defunded, it is Boehner care. Because the Speaker of the House and his henchmen are using every parliamentary trick in the book, every fundraising threat imaginable, every leak to the liberal media possible to thwart the efforts to try and end this abomination, this Boehner care. Now, Mike Lee and Ted Cruz, Ted Cruz's office has contacted me. Mike Lee has contacted me in the recent past. They'd like you to go to don'tfundobamacare.com. Let's put that up on the site, Mr. Producer. Don'tfundobamacare.com. They want you to sign up. They have almost 1 million signatures. We want to get them over 1 million now. Doesn't cost you a penny. This is for you. They're trying to show that there's a substantial number of people who've had enough of this. Now, I'm going to tell you, I already know what's going to happen here. Karl Rove is just one person, but he is illustrative of scores, if not hundreds, of inside operators who are perfectly comfortable with big government. Grover Norquist, he's another one. Oh, they have their little issues here and there, but in the end, they're perfectly comfortable with this. They have taken no effective steps to fight it, and in fact, in the case of Rove, he's been providing talking points to Republicans to fight us. So this notion, elect more Republicans, you see, more establishment Republicans, that'll fix everything. It'll fix nothing. Nothing. And these establishment Republicans, you know what? They're actually quite stupid. They're very stupid people. Now, while they may make out very, very well in their think tanks or giving speeches or as lobbyists or inside-outside types, whatever you want to call it, they personally doing very, very well. They don't give a damn about you. The fact is, this is a losing political strategy. It's a loser. As of right now, as I speak, neither political party represents most of the American people when it comes to Obamacare. We have the statists, as I call them, on the left, and the neo-statists, as I call the Republican leadership in Washington. The statists and the neo-statists. And people keep saying, well, all we need to do is let's elect more Republicans. So what? Well, let's fight it. You've got a primary going on in South Carolina. Is Lindsey Graham going to win or lose? You've got a primary going on in Kentucky. Is Mitch McConnell going to win or lose? But you see, a lot of these battles are fixed, too. Our forces are divided. The establishment pours in millions and millions of dollars getting behind their candidates because these incumbents have enormous power. And these private businesses and labor groups and so forth, they don't want to wind up on the wrong side. So they pander to them. They help load up their campaign treasury. And it gets harder and harder to defeat them. Not impossible. We have a couple of examples, like Cruz, among others, and Rand Paul and Mike Lee. But that's it. Handful. And these same people, they will lament the size of government. They will lament, taxes. They will lament all the regulations, and they don't bend a finger to stop it. On the East Coast, it's presently, 6:42 p.m. or thereabouts? 6:42 p.m. Eastern Time. Guess what? About every time this week, I tell you the same thing. The federal government is closed down. And this weekend, it's closed down for 3 days. 3 days. It's closed down right now. It'll be closed down on Monday. It's closed on Sunday. It'll be closed tomorrow. Oh, the pain. Oh, my God. How will I eat? How will I flush the toilet? What will we do? Well, we're not going to do anything. We're going to be perfectly fine. See, we're living, breathing, thinking, reasoning human beings. We don't need the department of this or the agency for that to tell us how to do what we need to do to survive and thrive, do we? Gee willikers, I wonder, how in the hell did we survive before there was a Department of Housing and Urban Development? And what about the Environmental Protection Agency? May I ask you a question? Did you put your mouth around the exhaust on your car? You know, the exhaust pipe. Did you do that, Mr. Producer? Did you say, gee, what am I going to do? I need clean air. Let me suck the fumes from the car. No. Did you say, you know what? I'm going to drink from, as an example, the Potomac River because, all those beer cans floating in there and the oil slicks? Yeah, that stuff tastes good. Let's take a sip, shall we? But now look what the Environmental Protection Agency is doing. Not so much clean water and clean air anymore. It's shutting down industries, putting people out of work. Gee, what would we do without the Environmental Protection Agency? And, of course, the states, they don't have any environmental agencies, do they? No. They don't have any agriculture departments in the states, do they? No, of course not. So the federal government has shut down. Ladies and gentlemen, it's shut down right now. Are you in pain? What are you going to do? You're going to get something to eat tonight, maybe see a movie, maybe play a video game, what? Watch some TV, read a great book like the Liberty Amendments, and you're going to be just fine. And tomorrow will come, and the day after that will come, Labor Day Monday will come, and we're all going to be here doing whatever we do, government or no government. Now here's the problem. Come October 1st and thereafter, the government might shut down, like on the weekends, and the holidays. But if you need a doctor, if you need surgery, if you need medicine, well, that's all going to be affected. Now, it's really going to kick in a few more years, but the process is going to start. You see, it's not so much a government shutdown, quote unquote, that's going to hurt us. It's government that's going to hurt us. If Obamacare was shut down, well, imagine the possibilities, all the positive things that could be done, all the new policies that would come out there, how competition would drive down prices, how doctors wouldn't be shuttering their offices and hospitals closing their beds. Just think about all the possibilities. Well, you know what we call that? Freedom! That's what we call it, freedom. Imagine a little more freedom in this country. No, we can't do that. I mean, how would we get along? How would we survive day to day, right? Wrong. I want to invite you to a very special dinner that's taking place in Washington, D.C. on September 26th. 32 years ago on September 26th, that was my bar mitzvah. Mark, who cares? I know, I'm just pointing it out. Anyway, it's the Media Research Center's annual Gala and Dishonors Award, and you can get your ticket right now if you act quickly by going to mrc.org/gala. And I've been a fan of the MRC for decades. Their work documenting and neutralizing the leftist media is vital to the conservative movement. And this gala they put on is really a fantastic, one-of-the-kind event. I know because I've been a part of it for years. In fact, I'm one of the judges who picks the nominees. If you want to join the fun, please, right now, while you're thinking about it, go to mrc.org/gala and check it out. And the gala parodies the Oscars with presenters and acceptors, except unlike the real Oscars, it's actually fun. No liberals preaching to us about the kind of light bulbs we're allowed to use, just real Americans, real conservatives, handing out awards for the most outrageous and ridiculous examples of the leftist media bias. It is a great deal of fun, folks, with a great deal of patriots. I encourage you to go to mrc.org/gala, register for the event. You'll have a great time. You'll get to mingle with some of the biggest names in the conservative movement. That's mrc.org/gala.
Mark Levin.
Well, my friends, I've given this a lot of thought. I'm going to make a statement. Not that it'll matter to anybody, but I'll make a statement because I can. I think John Boehner has done a terrible job as Speaker, despite his sycophants, golfing partners, and others praising his impossible job and impossible work. That's bullcrap. A leader would take that job, grab it by the horns, and wrestle it to the ground. That's not Boehner. Since he's been Speaker, the federal government has massively grown. Since he's been Speaker, no effective steps have been taken to counter what Obama's been doing in an unconstitutional way. Nothing. Since he's been Speaker, Obamacare has been implemented and has been on a fast track to implement it despite the President's illegal and unconstitutional mangling of that law. I see no progress under the Speaker, despite what others have said. Now, the fact of the matter is that conservatives and Tea Party activists across the country made him Speaker in the 2010 election. And he's been an ingrate, an absolute ingrate. From day one, when those freshmen showed up, those conservative Tea Party members, he moved immediately to take control over them, and he succeeded in about half the cases. Like a spider catching them in his web. They've used committee assignments, they've used fundraising and spending to reward those who buckle under and punish those who don't. So I have to tell you, as somebody who cares about restoring the Republic, about defending what's left of the Constitution, about somebody who is scared about the debt that's piling up and the future for our children. That if I lived in John Boehner's congressional district, I would not vote for him. I could not bring myself to do it. He hasn't earned it. And I'd want to send a message that would scare the Republican leadership in Washington down to their $300 polished loafers. And to the Democrats, too. I'd want to send a message. And it is a message that they need. Oh, I understand I'm persona non grata within the Beltway, within the Republican apparatus, with all their little apparatchiks dressed up as conservative leaders, defended by various websites and columns. None of that matters to me. Zero. I wrote the book because I think they all need to be bypassed. And they really do. But if it were me and I were living in his district, there's no way I could vote for him. No way. All I know that when Nancy Pelosi was Speaker of the House, she was powerful. She didn't take no for an answer. Well, Mark, she had a Democrat president. Absolutely true. And you know what? This is what separates the men from the boys and the women from the girls. It's called leadership. When the Speaker and his leadership team are spending more time trashing conservative organizations and conservatives than effectively dealing with the President of the United States, who is as radical as they come, he shouldn't be Speaker anymore. I'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, everybody. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811. Huh, it's weird. I got the coughs here. 877-381-3811. I've largely ignored this, but I've been asked a lot about it, so maybe I'll address it now. Good as time as any. All right, let me address it here. This matter involving the settlement, concussions for football players in the NFL. 4,500 former players filed a concussion-related lawsuit. First of all, I despise these slip-and-fall lawyers. Got a couple $100 million out of this deal. And by the way, you wait till Obamacare kicks in. Remember, the trial lawyers are not controlled. The trial lawyers, I assure you, have been organizing, sharing information, preparing strategies for ripping us off. That's right, ripping us off. But they don't control them because they help fund, like the NEA and the union bosses, the Democrat Party. Yes, there's two Americas, America. The fact is, you want to know the truth? The fact is the federal government works mostly hand in hand with the Democrat Party. They need each other. Because one grows the other. Like fungus. Anyway, back to this. I start from what I consider to be a base point of common sense. If some guy who's 250 pounds or 280 pounds or 350 pounds pounds you into the ground, running full speed, sprint speed at you, for the purpose of hurting you if he can, and your head bounces off the ground, or if you hit the shoulder pads of somebody, or any possibilities really on the football field, and you get a concussion, and you get several concussions over your career, what the hell do you think is going to happen to you? I mean, this is a violent sport. Let me go further. Why do you think people pay to watch it? These aren't ballerinas out there. This isn't the opera. Why do you think people watch the UFC? Like me. You want to watch two men dancing in the octagon? No. Why do you think they have highlights in football, or used to? Some of the greatest all-time hits. I don't mean music, I mean physical hits. Why do you think they have highlights of the UFC, the greatest knockouts? Same with boxing. So the idea that people get into football at the high school or college level and then at the professional level, and they don't know that they're going to leave that sport likely with knee injuries, hip injuries, shoulder injuries, hand injuries, broken noses, concussions, and whatever results from that is absurd. It's absolutely absurd. But the problem is when you have thousands of people joining in lawsuits or a lawsuit against an industry, the cost to defend is prohibitive. It's just prohibitive. And that's what these slip and fall lawyers know. Whether or not these concussions lead to dementia or Alzheimer's is almost beside the point. The point is that men go into this sport for fame and fortune. And many of them get fame and fortune. They go into this sport with their eyes wide open. And on top of that, even though their careers are short, many of them, if not most of them, earn more in 4, 5, 6, 8 years than most Americans will earn in a lifetime. Because I hear this argument, well, they only have a short, career. Okay, fine. But even people who work 20, 25, 30 years, working stiffs, that's what they call people, they don't earn during that period of time what professional athletes earn these days in a short period of time, most of them. So don't they have obligations to themselves and their families while they're earning these sums of money to develop, strategies, their own accountants or lawyers or whomever they use, their own representatives, to make sure that when they leave the sport that they've provided for themselves with their own money, whether it's health care, pension, whatever it is. And in the end, do you know who's going to pay for this? You are. Those of you who go to these stadiums and buy the beer and the popcorn and the hot dog and pay for the seats and so forth, pay for the parking, you're going to pay for this. You know what else you're going to pay for? Obamacare. These professional sports teams, it's not just the athletes on the field. These are businesses with all kinds of employees, all kinds of sales, marketing, the cleaning crew, people who take care of the field, whether it's synthetic or real. It goes on and on and on. These are businesses. So when Obamacare kicks in, that's going to further drive up the price of taking your kid to a sporting event. So I just reject the premise. Don't get me wrong. I feel bad for these men who wind up with dementia or Alzheimer's. And by the way, not necessarily because of the sport, but even if it is, people aren't being rounded up and being forced to play football. They compete for these jobs. They want these jobs. Right now, we just went through preseason, right, Mr. Producer? Well, what are these players doing? They're fighting like hell for their positions. They want to be on the team. They'll do almost anything to be on the team. To be a professional athlete. To me, it's a question of basic common sense and logic. Well, we didn't know that multiple concussions would result in X, Y, Z. And they told us to keep going out and play. It's as if, what, you've lost free will? You're not an adult anymore? You make these decisions for yourself. How many times have we seen a professional athlete in football who's had a concussion and they want to come right back, or they want to come back the next day or the second day or whatever? They want to play. This is what they do. So despite all the reporting and wringing of hands out there that it was only $700 and some million and that's a pittance and so forth and so on, I start from the premise, why is it $5? Again, I'm not trying to attack anyone or anything. I've been asked for my opinion. I've pretty much ignored this, but as I think it through, and I have friends who are professional football players or were professional football players, and one in particular is in a bit of a situation. But so be it. I mean, he should be taken care of. His family should care for him. You know, the best kind of love and support should be given to him, but I don't see how this is professional football's responsibility in any way. So I digress to discuss this only because of the constant request that I comment on it. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
I know. The morning schmo. So pathetic. I may or may not deal with this in the third hour. I don't know. Back to Barack Milhouse Hussein Obama. On Syria attacks. Syria attacks threatens our national security interests. This is interesting. Let's go to Cut 1. Go.
This kind of attack threatens our national security interests by violating well-established international norms against the use of chemical weapons, by further threatening friends and allies of ours in the region like Israel and Turkey and Jordan.
Oh, stop. This is almost hilarious. The greatest threat in the Middle East to us, ladies and gentlemen, and to our allies, and to the world, is Iran, under the Islamo-Nazi regime in Tehran. By far. They're building nukes. And you want to know why we don't address that? Because that's really hard. That's more than a few cruise missiles. So Obama thinks we ought to do this because of Israel, Turkey, and Jordan. Is he kidding? Go ahead.
It increases the risk that chemical weapons will be used in the future and fall into the hands of terrorists who might use them against us.
Stop. No, it doesn't. It doesn't in the least. I don't even find the connection. I mean, if you want to argue that, if the Syrian government falls, then the chemical weapons may fall into the hands of the al-Qaeda terrorists, right? So that doesn't even make any sense. Go ahead.
I have said before, and I meant what I said, that the world has an obligation to make sure that we maintain the norms against the use.
All right, thank you. That's enough. What else did he say here? Let's see here. Let's go down to... you know what? I don't even want to hear any more from him. Nothing. Let's hear what John D. Student Kerry had to say. Now, keep in mind, here we are in the middle of our own bloody war in Vietnam. We're losing tens of thousands of men. Enormous casualties. And John Kerry, this piece of you-know-what, goes in front of the Senate Foreign Affairs Committee, chaired by a segregationist isolationist by the name of J. William Fulbright, who was Bill Clinton's political mentor. You know Clinton, the one who was standing the other day in front of the Lincoln Memorial talking about Martin Luther King? Yeah, that Bill Clinton. And John Kerry lied to the American people. The biggest Benedict Arnold, he was even bigger than Benedict Arnold in what he did. And, of course, that's why the Democrats decided to nominate him for president in 2004. But in any event, now he's our Secretary of the State of Confusion. And let's hear what he has to say. Cut 6, go.
We also know that we have a president.
That's enough. Thank you. That's enough of him. What about consulting Congress? What about that? Cut 7, go.
President Obama.
All right, that's enough of him, too. There you go. Full of crap, and we don't need to listen to him. Let's take a call, shall we? Dan, Washington, D.C., the great WMAL. Go.
Hey, Mark, how's it going? It's not every day a guy gets to talk to his hero over the phone.
Wow, thank you, sir. I understand you're a police officer, or were, right?
Yes, sir. I'm a federal police officer, and I love listening to your show on post whenever I can in the cruisers.
Really?
Yeah, I wish I had a chance to go to your book signing. I actually had a tour of duty that day, though.
You know what, Dan? There were actually several police officers who came. Some of them were pretty heavily armed, I might add.
Oh, yeah?
But thank you.
I support the Second Amendment, Mark, and I like that you do, too.
God bless.
And, I mean, the country is definitely in a state of confusion, as you said. You know, everything's going to hell, Mark.
Yeah, it doesn't look good.
You know, immigration, you know, they're opening the borders. They don't understand any of that. You know, McCain and Graham, they're in bed with Schumer. You know, it's terrible.
Same-sex senators, I keep calling them that, you know.
Yeah, I know. It's you know, it's definitely funny. You know, I mean, I don't understand how we can support people breaking the law, and I mean, just in national security in general. Like, how can we support people coming in illegally?
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, you make way too much sense, my friend. You're exactly right. And then when you raise these things, it's like, oh, something wrong with you? Don't you know how to get votes? What are you, xenophobic? I don't even know what the hell that word means, do you? Haven't even bothered to look it up.
I mean, they throw words out. I mean, like, if I went to take a tour of the White House, would I just be allowed to flood in? Or, you know, would they have say of who comes in and out?
Exactly right.
You know, and I don't know, it's just unbelievable. The football thing, you know, great point. Obviously, those guys...
well, guess what?
We're
going to have a young lady whose father was an NFL player, and she strongly disagrees with me, Dan. Listen, I'll tell you what, don't hang up. I'm going to send you a copy of the Liberty Amendments, signed copy, so don't hang up, and thank you for all you're doing. All right, Summer, Salt Lake City, the great KKAT. Give me both barrels. Go ahead.
Hey, Mark, first-time caller, long-time listener.
Uh-oh.
And I don't strongly disagree with you. I just want to give you another perspective.
Sure.
If I'm allowed. My father played in the 80s. He played 10 years, and he was able to come out, thank goodness, with no serious injuries. He won a Super Bowl. So he went to the big show. But what I'm realizing now with the NFL, we've got two completely different generations going on. I feel like when my dad was playing, the 60s, 70s, 80s, even the 90s, there was not a lot of information being given to the actual players. Whereas now, you know, if you get a concussion, you can go on WebMD and see what a concussion is. So I know that, you know, once I have a boy, I have no problem with him playing football. I know the risk.
Hold on, Summer. Can you hang on till after the bottom break?
Absolutely.
Because listen, I want people to hear what you have to say. All right, we'll be right back with Summer, whose father is a retired NFL player, went to the Super Bowl. We'll be right back.
Levin, America's think tank. And you can call him at 877-381-3811.
I'm speaking to Summer out of Salt Lake City, KKAT country. Her father was an NFL player. We verified that, and a very good NFL player, and a very nice, decent man. And Summer was making the point, look, well, you make the point, 70s, 80s, and 90s, that's one thing that's different than today, right? Because people didn't know back then. Go ahead, make your point.
And that was my point. It's just researching what's going on. I mean, they were pretty much lied to in a lot of cases. And I know that a lot of the alumni players now that are getting dementia, Alzheimer's, and all of that, it could have been prevented if they were given the right diagnosis back then.
And by the way, what would they have done? Pulled them out and kept them out longer, I guess?
Well, to be honest, I think what they do now, because they're so worried about lawsuits, I have a lot of NFL player friends, and if they have a risk of concussion, they pull them out. They may want to go back in, like you were saying earlier, but they don't put them back in if it's really bad, you know? So but back then, I mean, people didn't know the long-term effects. So if it's a big game, you know, just give them a shot.
Well, let me ask you, Summer, are we sure people didn't know the long-term effects of having your brains beaten in?
Well, that's the problem is there were situations where they were being told that it wasn't what it ended up being. You know,
now, how old? May I ask? How old are you?
I'm 33.
Well, your father raised a very nice young lady.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
I was kind of nervous you were going to yell at me because I.
What? No, why would I yell at you? You're not a liberal poking your finger in my face. That's different.
No.
And you know what else?
You a liberal poke in your face. My dad taught me about Reaganomics when I was in 8th grade. So.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I wrote a dissertation on it in 8th grade. Pissed my professor off. You know, middle school, they don't like hearing that stuff, but.
I could never yell at you. You're great. All right, Summer. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to send you a signed copy of the Liberty Amendments. Thank you for calling in.
Oh, thank you so much, Mark.
All right, don't hang up. I think I'm going to get another double barrel here. Dick, Redlands, California, Sirius Satellite. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, Mark. This lady said primarily what I want to say, so let me begin simply by saying your new book is just fantastic. I'm the retired business school dean who called you about Maritopia and told you it was the best simple, straightforward exposition of the work of people like Plato and Locke that I had ever read.
Aren't you? No, hold on. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be rude. You're the ex-what? I'm a little hard of hearing.
I'm ex-business school dean. I used to be the dean.
Oh, yes, I remember you.
I said some nice things about your earlier book. This one's equally good. I just love the references to the Federalist Papers and to the conventions of the states. It's just brilliant.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
But that's not why I called.
I know.
Because I'm a really old guy. I'm in my late 70s. I played college football in the 50s, got a few concussions, I know in retrospect, because I was knocked out, and I remember playing in games where I don't remember. My best friend was an All-East player at Rutgers in the late 50s and almost made it to the Giants. He died 5 years ago, and when he was rational, he believes that he might have had 10 or 12 concussions. And in those days, they just really did put you back in. So I do think that you're absolutely right about the younger players, and I think you're particularly right about the desire of the best to still try to make it, even if they know that they're taking risks. And certainly you're right about the trial lawyers. So
all right, let me ask you this. Dick, let me ask you this. So you would make a distinction between sort of the older players that didn't have the information and the medical care, which is exactly what Summer was saying. But what about players who are coming right in today and they know that this is a problem and so forth? Do you think they should have legal standing at some point?
No, I really don't. I think that today anyone going into the NFL should be required to sign a statement that says, in effect, I waive certain rights provided that I cannot prove that I was honestly taken advantage of. I mean, if you could create a fact pattern where someone of this generation was really badly treated knowingly by trained physicians and so forth. I mean, you can imagine a situation where even under the current situation, someone was just so badly dealt with that they might have some stand. But no,
although I am betting that these owners now are taking a very careful look at their medical staff.
I can assure you, I actually know a couple of owners, and I've had conversations with them, and I can assure you that.
What the hell? You know everybody.
No, it's just if you've been a business school dean at a sort of top 10 business school, you meet a lot of people. It's not you, it's the position. I'm not that egotistical. If you get in certain positions, you just happen to meet people in life. That's the way things
Dick,
are.
let me tell you something. You're a great caller. I do remember. Don't hang up. I want to send you a signed copy of the Liberty Amendments. Excellent points. And you know what? I agree with you in summer. I agree. You make a lot of sense to me. You take care of yourself. Don't they make a lot of sense, Mr. Producer? So, I mean, I'm prepared to adjust my view, amend it. This is not my area of expertise anyway. So people that have real-life experience on this, So what they're saying, what Summer says, what Dick is saying is, look, today people are being told that this is a problem. So today going forward is different than what's occurred in the past. You know what? I think they're right. They're probably right. This isn't my issue. I mean, I've been asked about it. Leo, Round Hill, Virginia, the great WMAL. I actually know where that is. How are you, sir?
Yeah, you should. Your law firm.
All right, don't be telling people where I live. Go ahead.
The bunker.
All
okay. Right. I got to disagree, Mark. These people that get into a hazardous sport, and they knew the ramifications. And I want to comment on 2 points that tie together. Your first one is the NFL and all this. That's a frivolous lawsuit. These guys shouldn't be paid. They were very well, heavily compensated. And I don't see anybody running out to support our troops for traumatic brain injury that these kids are sustaining with concussions from grenades and artillery and everything else that come home with PTSD, and they are killing themselves in record numbers. I don't see anybody jumping up and down for them. All right, that's the first thing. Syria, we need to do the same thing we did to Gaddafi in 1986. We need to send a couple of strategic...
Now, listen, let me talk about the latter. I don't get it. Let's say we send a few strategic missiles and one winds up between his eyes. Then what?
Game over for him.
No. Game over for him. But then what?
Well,
then Al Qaeda takes the damn thing over, or one of his generals or whatever. I mean, how does that resolve anything?
Show of force, Mark.
Show of force.
What we need to do is take out his palace, level it to the ground.
Are you not listening to me? I know we can take out his palace and level it to the ground. We can turn that whole Middle East into an ice skating rink and turn it back to about 30 degrees. So what?
So we're going to put boots on the ground?
We better not.
Put boots on the ground. No, we better not. No.
No, I'm not in favor of boots on the... No, here's what we should do. Nothing. Nothing.
No. The point is, and I think all the announcers have been missing this, is it's the proliferation. You keyed on this.
This is not going to stop the proliferation.
Yes, it will.
How?
It stopped it in Iraq. What did they do with those weapons?
Stop what in Iraq? All right, you got to listen to me. This is not going to stop the proliferation of chemicals at all. Now, if you're concerned about the proliferation of anything, it's Iran. They're building nuclear weapons. The stockpiling of chemicals, do you know how much chemicals Syria has? It's an enormous amount. We're not going to knock out their stockpile of chemical weapons. Here's the problem, Leo. If we do something that turns out to be impotent or ineffective, because it probably is, because I don't know what exactly we're trying to do here, it'll have the opposite effect. It'll be, oh, okay, right. They took out a couple of airfields, and they did this, and they did that, and, okay, so what?
So if we do nothing, that shows that we are weak to the Arab nation.
No, it doesn't show we're weak. It shows Obama's weak because he shouldn't have said what he said.
America represents you and I. I'm afraid.
All right, we're not going to agree on this, Leo. It's not a question of America represents us. We are America. If you're going to go to war or take acts of war, you'd have to have a clear understanding of why you're doing it, legal authority to do it, and what your objective is. And if you think you're going to deter him or somebody else from using chemical weapons by this kind of response, where the president himself said the response will be hours and not days, and we're not trying to remove him, that's not even a deterrent effect. Hello?
Yeah, I'm listening.
All right, buddy. Look, I got to keep moving, okay?
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Thank you, Mark.
Love you, buddy. Take care of yourself. Some very good calls, interesting calls. And by the way, they don't all agree with me, do they? Makes a good point about the men and women who come back with these horrific injuries and so forth, but I'm not sure one has anything to do with the other. When you look at what's going on at the Veterans Administration, that's a crime. The backlog, that's a crime. This is big, bloated, central government health care. And people are on waiting lists and waiting lists and waiting lists. The people who shouldn't be on any waiting lists are men and women who've served. Ancestry.com. When I started tracing my roots on tryancestry.com, some of the most invaluable information came from immigration and travel records. For example, with the passenger manifest from the SS Mauritania, I was able to document the final leg of my great-grandfather's voyage from the Ukraine to Ellis Island and see the exact date that he arrived in New York. Each record tells a story. I was able to find all this at tryancestry.com. This Labor Day weekend only, starting Thursday, yesterday, through Monday, just a few days away, Ancestry's giving my listeners, you, free access to their immigration and travel collection, a collection that hasn't been open to the public in over 2 years. Don't miss this. It's 100% free weekend to search and discover like I did, all for free. So you might want to start right now. Visit tryancestry.com right now, this weekend, and you'll get access to a collection that hasn't been open to the public in over 2 years. It's absolutely free, but only today, Saturday, Sunday, through Monday. You're going to love this site. So visit tryancestry.com. That's tryancestry.com.
Mark Levin.
Well, Barney's here. He's wide awake. He's barking at the liberal deer and the liberal squirrels that surround our bunker here. And the liberal rabbits, too, I might add. Yes, you hear him there, Mr. Producer, in the background? He's taking care of business. Ted, Dover, Delaware, our friend, Sirius Satellite. How are you, sir?
Hey, how you doing, Mark? How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Listen to me. You know, I always give you praise when praise is due, but I don't have too much to disagree with you right now.
Yeah.
But the timing of your book couldn't be impeccable. I'm glad you didn't wait until next year, till midterms, to put this book out. I'm glad you let it go now. Let people marinate on it. Let people read it and understand this next term election is going to be more to us than anything because of simple things that you're laying out. You're not telling people what to do. You're only showing them what's clear and what's been going on for years and years. And this next election is very important because of the things that this administration is doing now. And I applaud you wholeheartedly, brother. Just keep them books coming. And one other thing I recommend you do, I'm not telling you what to do, but next year in that election year, what you and Hannity did when you was in that format, I've never seen you look so good, So comfortable. And you need to do that one more time in that election year and let the people pile on. Because I tell you what, they got something. You got something for them when they bring it on. I've never seen nobody take it to them so eloquently and know what they're talking about, and at the same time look for the criticism so you can, debunk some of the foolishness that they say.
Well, you are really, really kind, Ted. But you're a buddy of mine anyway. Everyone's, that's Ted. But let me tell you something. Ted is discerning. You know what? I said it yesterday, Ted, really. That 1 hour on Hannity on Fox, that was unique. And I really enjoyed it, and I think people who watched it enjoyed it. That's old-time TV. That's documentary TV. That's, when Milton Friedman used to do that for an hour. And so I'm not comparing myself to them, but I'm saying you can really learn something. You have time to think about it. It's not this segment, yelling under. I really enjoyed it anyway.
It was very meaningful, and it gave people something to think about, Mark. It wasn't through the next commercial. And even through the commercial, I thought about what you were saying and talking about. It couldn't wait till you get back so I could just hear more about what you had to say. Now, like I said, if people didn't agree with what you said, you gave them, you say, have at it. And like you always do as you do on your radio show, and you give everyone a fair chance. And this book, I'm telling you, it's going to go forward. It's going to help us decide who we need to put where. Man in the booth better look out, because I know they're quaking in the booths right now. They think that, this is a joke. But like you said, we can show them better than we can tell them.
Well, God bless you, man, Ted. Listen, don't hang up. I want to send you a signed the Liberty Amendments, and I appreciate it. That's my buddy Ted, Dover, Delaware. By the way, when I finished the Liberty Amendments, there was discussion. Typically publishers and authors, they want to release books in September, October, November, in time for Christmas. So you can see how they time it and so forth. They almost never release books in the middle of the summer, in the middle of August, when people really aren't focused on books. I said, I don't care. We don't have time. I want to get this started. And I'm not, positioning the thing. I'm not waiting around. As soon as we can get it. As a matter of fact, let's get it out as fast as we can. And that's what happened. So you don't release books on August 13th, but I did. And we're going to continue to press the case, right through the fall and right into the winter. So I hope you'll join us, and got a wonderful weekend, 3 days. I hope those of you who have a copy of the Liberty Amendments will take just a little bit of time and start to jump into it. And those of you who don't have it, if you would like it, this is a perfect time to get it. And start thinking about where we go from here. All right. Barney's fed up. We must really be surrounded by lime-infested deer, Mr. Producer. I like deer. I look at the deer out the window and I think to myself, I couldn't shoot a deer. On the other hand, I don't want them on the hood of my car either, so I'm not against hunters. Don't get me wrong, I like hunters. I can't do it. All right, let's go. Mark, what are you against? I said I'm not against hunters. Obviously, I'm for the Second Amendment. I can't do it. Let's see. Kevin, Alexandria, Louisiana, the great KSY. Didn't we just talk to you?
No, sir, y'all have not.
I'm sorry.
I'm a first-time caller, long-time listener. I absolutely love your show.
Thank you. Kevin, I blew it. I screwed up on the clock. Can you hang on?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, I'm sorry. Kevin has an interesting point he wants to make. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, everybody. Mark Levin. This is the Power Hour. It is the final hour of the program, the final hour of the week, the final hour, really, of talk radio. Isn't it? For all intents and purposes. Answer, yes, it is. There was a person I told to hold on. Who was that? Kevin? We'll get to you in a moment, Kevin. Don't hang up. Did you know the Tea Party Patriots is still under attack by the Internal Revenue Services? Do you find this boring? I don't. I find it important. I know it's endless, the attack that's coming on Syria, the attack, Syria. Okay, we addressed that. They haven't been attacked yet. Nothing new has happened since I spoke about it in the first hour. But I think you should know about this. We had this initial firestorm, reports the Washington Times, about what the Internal Revenue Service did. But Tea Party leaders say the situation has only become worse and may lead to more lawsuits against the IRS. And by the way, new documents show the depth of information the IRS is seeking from Tea Party patriots. The Tea Party patriots is under attack again, and I'm partners with them. Detailed financial records, including the amounts and percentages of your total expenses for fundraising in 2011, 2012, 2013. See, here we go again. The midterm elections coming up. Battles over Obamacare, battles over the continuing resolution, the debt ceiling. So the IRS ramps it up. Now, here's what I want to say to you. Those of you who want to run to John Boehner's defense and everything. We have different committee chairmen investigating the same scandal. This is absurd. Just think about it. That's not an effective use of resources. It's not an effective use of expertise. It's absurd. These committees are working on 25 different issues. This happens to be one of them. That's number one. Number two, so what do we do about it? We have a special investigative committee. One committee with a professional staff, former prosecutors, former FBI, that sort of thing. This is getting us nowhere, this type of an investigation. Number three, we need a Speaker of the House who will propose either a flat tax or a fair tax, which means proposing an amendment to repeal the 16th Amendment in the case of the fair tax, or in my view, a flat tax. But either, they won't touch that with a 10-foot pole. Nothing. And Benghazi sits there because we don't have our special committee and so forth. I'm just telling you, folks, the incompetence, the gutlessness, whether it's Obamacare, whether it's the continuing resolution, whether it's the IRS scandal, Benghazi and so forth, it's all around us. It's pathetic. So the Tea Party Patriots is still being hounded. And it's tantamount to an audit, the letter that they received, according to Cleta Mitchell, the lawyer for the Tea Party Patriots. It's a continuation of the same thing they've been doing for 4 years, and they haven't stopped. The Tea Party Patriots has responded to all the requests of the IRS to date, but that hasn't gotten us anywhere. They just keep asking more questions. We're not looking at potential legal remedies, but that's because that's not easy. Congress has made it quite difficult to sue the IRS. And that's true. I can only think of one successful lawsuit against the IRS. It was about 10 years ago that revealed another period of time when there were all kinds of political audits going on. And guess who brought that lawsuit, Mr. Producer? That's right, Landmark Legal Foundation. So it's just another attempt by the IRS to harass and obstruct and so forth. The IRS should be effectively abolished. But not a single Republican has made a proposal to do that. No, instead it's expanded under Obamacare, which the Republican leadership is going to, in essence, defend by their inactivity. I get friends of mine email, well, what are you attacking Republicans for? A lot of us are working hard to take over the Republican Party. I'm not attacking you, obviously. But I can't sit idle and watch this and just, elect more Republicans. Let's just have a good time. No, it doesn't work that way anymore. You know, I've thought about whether to address this or not, but I'm going to have a good time with it. I hope you will, too. It's Friday. Federal government's closed, as it is every Friday night, as it will be on Saturday and Sunday, and lucky for us, also on Monday. So the federal government will be, you know another great thing that happens on these holidays, Mr. Producer? The hosts for MSNBC, they go on vacation. That's right. So we have this phony, the morning schmo, Joe Scarborough, who really thinks I don't know what he thinks, that he's bright, that he's cutting edge. No, he's not. He's a joke. He just doesn't know it yet. So he's interviewing James Carville. I wonder if Mary Madeline can tell James Carville, when he's on the morning schmo show, nobody's watching. Nobody. And when I bring up the morning schmo, about 20 times the audience is hearing about him than actually hear him when they broadcast. In any event, I think the guy is really kind of weird and creepy and really off his rocker a little bit. And I'm definitely in his head. Definitely in his head. There's a lot of room in there, by the way. So let's listen to this fascinating back and forth. It's Friday. The federal government shut down. What the hell? Between James Carville and the morning schmo. Cut 9. Go.
These guys do not consider you one of them.
Well, I'm
talking about the hardcore out there, which is a big part of your party.
Stop right there. And you see, Scarborough can barely control himself. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. I'm the real conservative. They're all nuts out there. You ready? Here's the Einstein of the Republican Party. Go.
You should read the End of To Kill a Mockingbird. Have you walked a mile in my shoes, James Carter? No, you haven't. I can tell you, there are a couple of Cheeto crunchers in basements that are in underwear in their mom's basements on blocks.
Stop right there. Stop. The guy even steals my lines, Mr. Producer. That's how dim-witted he is. He even steals my lines. Go ahead.
May not care for me, but I can tell you when I walk through airports, I can tell you when I go to Little League baseball games, I can tell you when I go shopping, let me finish, I can tell you when I'm at book events, I've got Republicans coming up to me, hugging me, going, thank God. Thank God.
Stop right there. So you Republican, you're hugging him and saying, thank God. You're probably saying, thank God Mika Brzezinski's not with you. Or thank God nobody listens to you. You egomaniac. Do I even talk like that about people who come up to me all the time and say nice things to me? Go ahead.
I'm telling you that there is a hardcore part of that party that says our problem is not we're conservative enough.
Yeah. Okay.
See Eric Erickson in Red State. See these guys.
See, Eric likes me. There, you just named a guy that likes me.
Okay.
Says it publicly. He'd hug me.
Stop. Oh, okay. Well, that's the test. What's he getting all these hugs, this Joe Scarborough? Yeah, people hug me. Erickson hugs me. There, hugs me. Yes, Joe Scarborough. I'm guessing 99% of the people who are walking through the airports don't even know who the hell Joe Scarborough is. Go ahead.
Come on. There are a couple of guys on radio that are jealous. You know what? I let them. I feel sorry for them. I let them scream and yell because it makes them feel better about themselves.
This is going to ruin you with everybody, but I happen to like it.
Oh, there we go. Why don't you hug them? It's a couple of guys on the radio that scream and yell. Unlike the morning schmo, very calm as he brings in his conga line of guests. That's what he does. He's kind of a weak Larry King, if you will. Not as good-looking as Larry King, not as intelligent as Larry King, not as inquisitive as Larry King, and Larry King is pretty bad. The morning schmo. Yes, so Eric's a good guy, and I happen to be friends with Eric Erickson, too, and he is a good guy, but that's not how I judge things. Eric's a good guy, therefore I'm a good guy. That doesn't work that way. Rush Limbaugh and I, we're friends, too. Oh, great for you. But there's a couple of other guys on talk radio, they yell and they scream. Unlike us here, with Chris Matthews and Al Not So Sharpton and Ed Schultz. I'm so proud to be part of the MSLSD family here, the Morning Schmo. Can anybody here tell me one thing Joe Scarborough has ever said that was really particularly intelligent? No. No, I can't either. Truth is, I don't know, but from the clips that are out there and so forth, no. Nothing. That's why he's hired. You have to have a low IQ to work for MSLSD. And you certainly can't be a conservative. So Joe Scarborough is sort of a bipolitical, if you will, bipolitical. He's got one leg over there and one leg over there. Let's take a call. Mike, Libertyville, Illinois, on the great Mark Levin app. How are you, sir?
Hi, yes.
Speak up, my friend. Go.
All right. Hi. I'm sorry. I work at a restaurant.
Mr. Call Screener, we have to make sure people have clear phones and can hear us. Go right ahead, Mike. Go.
Hi, Mark. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to say, look, I was a Marine for 5 years. I went to boot camp November of 2001, and right after...
I'll tell you what, you're going to have to call him back, Mike, because it's unlistenable. But let's get his phone number and see if you can get a better line there. Sorry about that, pal, but it's just it's not clear, and I'm getting a headache from the static. Let's continue. Oh, back to Kevin in Alexandria, Louisiana, the great KSYL. Sorry about that. Go.
Oh, man, it's a great pleasure to talk to you, Mr. Levin.
Thank you.
One thing I consider myself...
Wait a minute. You hear the Morning Schmo. He doesn't like me.
Oh, that's terrible. He should get to know you better.
No, he shouldn't. Really, he should keep at least 10 feet away. Go right ahead.
That's true. I consider myself an extremely conservative. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I'm personally worried about with the conflict that's going on in Syria, which I personally think we could escalate that to a conflict now that we're talking about other countries getting involved. Russia is a big backer of the Syrian the Syrian government, and you have to realize if anybody in that even follows politics.
All right, we lost you. I'm sorry about that, buddy. Well, we're having problems with the callers today and their lines and so forth. I don't know what happened. But we'll go back through the list and make sure it's all okay. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
See here. All right, let's try this. Kurt, Bedford, Texas, the great WBAP. Go.
How you doing there, Mark?
All right, my friend. How are you?
Hey, real good. Have you ever seen the beginning of Joe Scarborough showing up black and white photos with real?
I never watch it.
Playing?
I never watch it.
Well, I study it to learn about how these guys think. Black and white photos, him and Mika walking down the empty streets of New York with some Bruce Springsteen playing in the background. It's hilarious.
How hip.
It's hip, man. It's hipster stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you know
Very
what?
Interesting.
He's always going, nobody's as conservative as I am. That's why we have a problem. This guy is not a conservative. This guy is a complete moron.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, so if you see him in an airport, you're not going to hug him?
No, I'm not going to hug him. I'm going to go, hey.
Hey.
What are you doing in my airport?
Okay. All right, Kurt. Take care. Let's see. Ray. And this is the last one of the Scarborough cover. Let me tell you something, the Morning Schmo. You have a lot of people who actually don't like you. Or we could fill up our call board, couldn't we, Mr. Call Screener? Yeah, so... Ray, Cape Coral, Florida, the great WFSX. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Yeah, I watched that show this morning because I wanted to see what their opinion was about Syria. to see if they're going to go ahead with it. But they were mentioning that they have people on the right that are very bitter and everything. Well, James Carville should have said that. Joe Scarborough should have said that there's people on the left that are just as bitter and nasty.
This guy Scarborough is an establishment Republican frontman, and he sold out. This is the only quote-unquote gig he could get. He wanted to go on Fox, and he didn't. He tried to do radio, and he failed. And so this is where he is, and they hire him because he keeps trashing conservatives.
Exactly, and he says he is one. That is ridiculous.
And of course, that's like Karl Rove saying that he's a conservative.
Yeah.
And of course, he brings on James Carville, who agrees with him. Well, that tells you about all you need to all you need to know.
Exactly. So there are two peas in a pod that are just cutting conservatives, and they're very hypocritical. Hypocritical to the max.
All right, Ray. Thank you. That's it. No more Scarborough calls. We're giving him way too much publicity. Far more. And sometimes I suspect, and some people think, that he goes out of his way to do this because he needs me to talk about him. Okay. So I did it a little bit. Brian, New Jersey, the great WABC. Quickly, go.
Hey, it's me. Hey, I'll give you a little background on me first. I was a first-term Obama supporter, and I used to listen to the Clinton News Network and MSDNC, and actually Piers Morgan was the best thing that ever happened to me because they put him on and I couldn't stand him, so I started listening to Hannity, and Hannity got me hooked on you, and ever since then I've been diehard conservative, changed parties, went through the whole,
Ryan, you're the man, baby. You're the man. Don't hang up. We're going to send you a Liberty Amendments. I'll be right back.
Making sure the land of the free and the home of the brave stays that way. Dial Mark Levin now at 877-381-3811.
Mark Levin, author of numerous New York Times best-selling books, Men in Black, Liberty and Tyranny, and Ameritopia. Now comes the Liberty Amendments.
This is a book intended to find a course, a way to address all that's going on around us.
The Liberty Amendments, new from Mark Levin.
When you read this book, The Liberty Amendments, Restoring the American Republic, it gives you hope. It gives you some inspiration, and we need it. And that's why I wrote it.
Sean Hannity.
I would describe this as a roadmap for the people in this country, those that say, what can I do? How can we deal with this? It's a roadmap to liberty, a roadmap to return to self-government, a roadmap to reestablish founding principles and restore the constitutional republic we inherited. I highly recommend it.
This year's must-read.
This book combines our heritage, the framers at the Constitutional Convention, the framers at the state conventions, who are always overlooked, and applies it to our current circumstance.
Mark Levin's The Liberty Amendments, now on sale everywhere.
So Lindsey Graham, half of the J. Lynn's group, with John McCain and Lindsey Graham, hence J. Lynn's, same-sex senators. He says it's high time that we attack Syria. This guy's a knucklehead, Class A goober. That's exactly what he is. Let's take some more calls. Let's see who's out there. How about Rick? Dallas, Texas, the great WBAP. Go.
Mark, thank you for taking my call. I've read all your books. You've opened my eyes up. I can't believe what's going on in this country, and I'm glad that you're behind the microphone helping this out. I'm going to talk quickly. Thank you for pointing out to the listeners that these Republicans they're rats. McCain, Boehner, McConnell, Graham, Peter King, the list goes on. Milquetoast, mealy mouth, cream of wheat, no good rat politicians. They're progressive Marxists. They are not Republicans.
No, I don't know that they're Marxists. They're definitely statists, but go ahead.
We'll go with progressive. We need to make sure people know that these guys are rats, and they cannot be trusted. My second point, this thing with Syria is a good example. This was a perfect timing. You mentioned Lindsey Graham. he's saying we need to attack. Let's just sit back for a minute and look at this from a logical standpoint. Do we think Assad woke up sometime last week and said, I'm going to get up this morning and I'm going to gas some women and children here because I'm losing this battle? He's not losing. He's winning. And so he just decides all of a sudden, we're going to go ahead and gas some women and children and get everybody ticked off at us, so maybe we'll get attacked. I don't buy that for a minute. We know damn good and well that the rebels that are fighting against the Assad government are rife with al-Qaeda operatives. We have documented proof of this. We know this. So the second point I'm going to make about this is VX gas, CN gas, sarin gas, name your gas. If anybody's got military experience, you know what these gases do. There's no blisters around the mouths and eyes of these kids and these women and men, anybody that was killed. We had reporters on scene 2 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours after the attack, so we have video footage. Does anybody know about chemical weapons? You go on that site 72 hours afterwards, and you're not totally sealed up. You're going to get that on your skin, and you're dead meat.
So you're not convinced that these were, nerve gases and things of that sort?
No, this is a joke. They want, what's the best?
Well, what do you think it was?
Well, I don't know. It looks like a high-end tear gas to me. It's kind of tear gas they use in the military where they lock you up in a room and you've got to sustain it for a little while. You go outside and throw up and you're wheezing and you're carrying on, your eyes are...
Well, they've sent some investigators over there to collect some samples and so forth. So, it's going to be hard to avoid it if, in fact, that's what it is.
There's no evidence. Oh, the evidence is gone. There's no evidence. The evidence is gone here.
Well, there'll be some evidence. There can't be no evidence.
Well, that's right. If there's evidence around there, then we got a bunch of dead people, don't we? I haven't seen anybody in hazmat suits going around here. All I see is reporters, pouring bottled water on women and children. That's all I've seen.
All right, sir. Thank you for your call. I have seen some reports in mainstream media outlets raising questions about the source of these chemicals that were supposed to have been used, and some even going so far as to suggest, well, we don't know if it was the other side. That is the anti-Assad forces. So, all right. Let's go to Paul, Washington, D.C., the great WMAL. How are you, sir?
Wow, Mark, it's an honor. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you, my friend.
Hey, listen, my wife brought up a very interesting point today with this Syria thing going on, and she said that she feels that since looks like we're going to do something, enter it somehow by rockets or, airstrikes, all this is going to do is take the focus off of Benghazi, Fast and Furious, and everything else that this administration...
And it already has, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. Yes, it has.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing is, my friend, I'm sorry I could not make it to see you on the 24th. The chief canceled our days off for the MLK celebration. I was really looking forward to meeting you and getting a copy of your book, but as well as it goes, I never got a chance to go down there.
Well, you're a police officer. We really appreciate it. A number of police officers did show up, by the way, from the Fairfax and other.
I was trying. Metropolitan got the
I know.
stick on this one.
Now, let me ask you this: word has already gone out. There's a high alert in our cities and so forth. Have you heard this?
Well, it's going to be put out here shortly. If when the first balloon goes up, we've already been told to make sure we have our proper equipment, our stat gear, SCBA.
And what are we waiting for here?
I guess we're waiting for the U.S. to do something.
But, are there Syrian operatives that they're concerned about?
Who knows what they're worried about. They just the Chief Lanier is very on top of these kind of things. When this happens, she's going to put us on 12-hour shifts, wants to make sure everybody's geared up and has the proper equipment, just in case something does come down the line. She's very attentive to these kind of things.
Yeah, she seems to be a pretty good chief.
Yes, she is.
All right. God bless you, my friend. Take care. Oh, by the way, don't hang up. Let's send you the Liberty Amendment signed because you couldn't make it to the signing, and thank you. Be safe out there. But what? Just step back, folks, as I like to say, and think about this. We're going to get involved in Syria in some fashion, apparently. Now these places are places. These towns, our towns, are on alert just in case some Syrian nationals, they say, are here and this, that, and the other thing. What the hell's going on here? Why are we doing this? And why are we doing it without the President of the United States speaking to us? And why are we doing it without Congress's involvement? I mean, a few consultations, that's not what the Constitution says. Yes, I believe in a robust presidency. I do not believe in an unconstitutional presidency. So and let me ask you, and what exactly is the moral line that was crossed? The use of nerve chemicals killed over 1,400 people. It's horrible. Don't get me wrong. But Lindsey Graham hasn't called for military strikes in the Sudan. Lindsey Graham hasn't called for military strikes in the Congo. Lindsey Graham hasn't called for military strikes in Mozambique. Not Mozambique. Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe. He hasn't called for military strikes anywhere really but the Middle East. All right, let's keep going here. Let's go to John, Washington State, Sirius Satellite. Go. John, Washington State, go.
I have a bad connection. I'm going to have to try you guys back.
All right, thank you. Ron, Montana, Sirius Satellite. You should have a good connection. Go.
I hope I do, Mark. Thanks for taking my call. Hey, a little perspective on this. First of all, I agree wholeheartedly. We don't need to be getting involved in Syria. If we do launch missiles over there and get involved, here's an aspect nobody but one other person I've heard of has looked at. What happens if they turn around and attack one of our ships or all of our ships, do some damage, kill some of our sailors? Now we're headlong into that situation. We don't need to be there. We just need to sit back and let them sort it out. You know, like you mentioned before, Darfur. Nobody said anything about that. Look what's going on with the Christians and everything in Egypt. Nobody's given a rat's hind end about that. We need to stay out of there. We don't need to be in there.
Yeah, I don't even know what our interest is there. And like I've said now for a couple of nights in a row, if it's a humanitarian issue, and it could be, then the president has an obligation to explain it to us, to explain to us why this will be effective in some way, and then to get Congress's support. He's had tons of time to get Congress's support, but he won't go there because he won't get it. So he's bypassing Congress.
Exactly. He's doing an end route. He's got this egotistical sense about him, a narcissist. You know, and you got a 10-year-old kid over there in Syria making fun of him on the internet. So now you're going to launch missiles into Syria. And
I didn't really get into that because I don't suspect that's really that kid. It's just somebody goofing on Obama, which isn't hard to do. All right, my friend, thank you for your call. Tea Party Patriots, it's time for all of us, all of you, to take a little road trip to D.C. You see, on December 10th, 9/10, Congress will take up the continuing resolution, which basically decides how much of your money they're going to be spending on the federal government. So also on 9/10, thousands of Tea Party patriots are converging on the Capitol to demand that Congress use the continuing resolution to stop funding and exempt America from Obamacare. Congress promised us they'd get rid of it. Boehner promised us. McConnell promised us. They all promised us. Notice they exempted their friends, they exempted themselves, they exempted big business, big labor, big government. The only people they haven't exempted is us, America. So on 9/10, please tell them they must exempt America. And unless you show up and speak up, we can't count on Congress to keep their promises of ending Obamacare. So go to exemptamerica.com. That's exemptamerica.com. Find out how you can attend this crucial national rally. That's exemptamerica.com. Visitors to exemptamerica.com can also get a free bumper sticker, and the more vehicles we can put them on, the better, so we can show force. So join the Tea Party Patriots and thousands of your fellow patriots. Go to exemptamerica.com.
Mark Levin.
tell you what's coming up. It is a 3-day weekend. I will not be on the air live on Monday. I will have a best of, and it is a great best of. So if you're sitting on the beach or at the lake or in your backyard having a barbecue or in the car or just staring at the ceiling, Mr. Producer's been known to do that. I think you'll enjoy it because we went through the various shows and we've picked different hours here and there. That's Monday. Also, we have a fantastic website, MarkLevinShow.com. So you might want to check that out. We have all kinds of interesting links and so forth. It's absolutely free. You don't have to worry about any of that. You can download the show from many, 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 many months past if you want, including this show, and share it with people. In addition, on the social sites, I'm pretty active on those sites, on Mark Levin Show Facebook, Mark Levin Show Twitter. I've got all kinds of information there, not just about the book, but debates over the book, debates over the arguments that we're making, as well as various news stories that I think are important, and we post them up there morning, noon, and night. Do you want to know why we do it morning, noon, and night? Because I'm up morning, noon, and night. That's why. We had a wonderful interview. I want to thank David Brody at CBN, the 700 Club. It was just great, and you get a pretty good view of the bunker. And we just reposted that on the social sites if you want to take a look at that. It was just terrific. And we're going to continue to spread the word. So, if you happen to be shopping, see if you can grab a copy of the Liberty Amendments. Or if not, if you have Kindle or Nook or something like that, you can grab that if you're interested. Weekend's the perfect time, 3 days. I think this will be interesting and entertaining and important to you. I really do. And most of all, I want you all to come back on Tuesday live. Listen Monday, best of, Tuesday live, so be safe, okay? I know a lot of people are traveling. Take it easy. Each and every one of you means something to me. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Ray Charles in America, just for you. Go.
me sing this.
America, you and I, we have a rendezvous with destiny. The great Ronald Reagan. Don't forget it. I'll see you live on Tuesday. Please listen to Monday. We've put a great program together for you. We salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, and emergency personnel. Good night, Spritey. Good night, Griffey. Good night, Pepsi. Good night, America.